The following will contain spoilers for Super Mario Bros. Z. A link in the description will be to the creator's channel where you can watch it all. I grew up loving Super Mario Bros. Z, as I'm sure some of you watching this did. For me, it was the thing that inspired me to be an artist, and I've wanted to pay tribute to it for a long time. But what's amazing is that over a decade later, tons of people besides myself are still passionate about this show. People make fan animations, art, and even their own spin-offs of the series. It was massively influential to a generation of artists. But what was it about it that made it so special? Many have attributed its success to its excellent fight animation, which makes sense.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
But beyond the micro level of all the references and neat animation tricks is something more meaningful. So, I'm going to analyze the original 8 episodes to explain why I think Super Mario Bros. Z is great. Sequence 1. Arrival of Danger. We open to this Goomba coming across a strange gem in the fields while this cheery music plays in the background. It sets a fun, peaceful tone that's then immediately interrupted by the arrival of this mysterious robot. The music cuts out, the screen gets dark, and you hear this ominous crackling noise as this intense music suddenly takes over. The robot casts a shadow over this Goomba, which gives him this intimidating presence. But why are we opening like this? 1, because mysteries are intriguing and create a desire to know more. 2, opening like this communicates what this setting is like normally and makes the shift to a darker tone more powerful by contrast and represents the danger this robot presents to it. Then we learn 2 things. 1, this robot has an objective. And 2, he's gonna do whatever it takes to accomplish it. As we cut away, there's this foreboding sense of danger. Because we know when that robot shows up, shit's gonna go down. And shit's gonna go down hard. Sequence 2. Yay, it's fun again! We pan down to a race between our protagonists, Mario and Luigi, and their rivals, Wario and Luigi's purple alternate skin from Smash Bros. It returns us to that cheery tone from before and provides another important function. It establishes a normal world. It gives us a sense of comforting familiarity and makes dire situations feel more tense. Just as the race is reaching its climax, it's interrupted by the arrival of Bowser. He reveals his plans to kidnap Peach, gasp, and destroy Mario, leaving the episode on the tense anticipation of conflict.
Let's go!
Sequence 1. The protagonists. We start with a scene that repeats information we already know, so we'll just skip it. The battle between Mario and Bowser begins, and it's fucking awesome. In terms of the animation, the action has a real sense of weight and power. There are these little moments in the fight utilizing squash and stretch in subtle ways to give the characters form and flexibility. There are also these clever scenes where the fight slows down to emphasize the force of impact and let the viewer take in the action. But I also want to go over the structure of the fight, the way it shifts the balance of power and reveals character. The fight goes back and forth with Mario and Bowser on top at different points in the conflict. These kinds of dynamic power shifts make the fight more dramatic. They guide you through positive and negative exchanges that make victory cathartic or defeat tragic. But each shift reveals something about the characters. We see Luigi's fear of this conflict, but we also see his concern for Mario, planting seeds for his future developments. We see how arrogant Bowser is and how he'll resort to cruel tactics to win. And we see what Mario cares about. He gets angry on Luigi's behalf and sacrifices himself for Peach. We see just how kind and selfless he is. Just as Bowser is ready to deliver the finishing blow, a mysterious pod appears, destroying his metal form.
What the fuck was that?
Then, when Peach is held hostage, 2 figures emerge from that pod rescuing her. Their arrival helps to add that air of mystery to the plot, but introducing them by saving the protagonist once incidentally and once intentionally instills a natural feeling of trust in them. We end the episode with Bowser's defeat and the question of who these mysterious figures are.
Sonic's the name, speed's my game. Go!
Sequence 1. The objective. This is where the plot starts to kick in and we get answers to our questions. We learn that our mysterious heroes are the cool, quirky Sonic and the stoic, less than thrilled Shadow. Now hold on. I know that 99% of you probably already knew who these characters were.
What the fuck is a Sonic?
But it's important to examine how the story is presenting its information and how it affects our experience of the narrative, regardless of your long history with these characters. We learn about the 7 MacGuffin rocks and the unlimited power they grant to whoever wields them, because apparently unlimited can be equally divided into 7. Sonic insists that Mario and Luigi join them on their quest to the protest of Shadow. Already we're laying the groundwork for their dynamic and conflicting personalities. Sonic convinces Shadow and we head out to our new objective.
But wait, there's more!
We're reintroduced to the Wario Bros, who make their own plans to snatch the emeralds, adding a new layer of conflict to the plot.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
Sequence 2. An unknown threat. We enter a montage that introduces Yoshi and shows the characters getting caught up in all kinds of goofy scenarios looking for the emeralds. This montage isn't just fun, it also creates a false sense of security for the audience. As the montage ends, Yoshi has already discovered a Chaos Emerald and things are going our way. And then they go horribly wrong. Yoshi finds himself alone, confronting the mysterious robot from before. He threatens Yoshi with force to surrender the emerald, but then Yoshi does something important. He swallows it. We've known Yoshi for all of 2 seconds of a montage. Seeing him go out of his way to swallow the emerald shows us his determination to help people he barely knows. It makes us care about him, which is just in time because shit is about to go down.
Oh shit!
This fight lays out some important power dynamics. We see how well Yoshi can handle himself in a fight, but we also see the overwhelming power of this robot. This is what he's capable of without using any emeralds. We can only imagine how much more dangerous he'll become. He takes the emerald and retreats at the side of the rest of the group, telling us of a shared history with Sonic and Shadow. Then this happens. This is a clever joke because it helps to break up the tension. Some seriousness remains in the air, but having the tension break with a punchline removes urgency. It allows us to linger on the events and take in new information. We get answers to our questions like the name of the robot, Mecha Sonic, as well as some new questions like what is his relationship with Sonic and Shadow. It creates intrigue for the next episode where we'll get some answers. Sequence 1. Building personal investment. Yoshi is recovering and a distraught Sonic decides to give answers. We get a flashback where we learn about Sonic's friends and Dr. Eggman, the creator of Mecha Sonic. How Mecha Sonic's drive to defeat Sonic drove him to betraying his master in search of more power, destroying Sonic's home and loved ones in the process. Now, it might seem like kind of a dick move for Sonic to withhold important information like this, and yeah, it kind of is, but I want to go over 2 things. 1, it's a more interesting interpretation to suggest that it was Shadow's idea to withhold information. We've seen how overconfident he is and how he didn't feel Mario had a right to know anyway, and it's consistent with a theme of his moving forward. Shadow's rash decisions always cause himself and his allies trouble. So, Yoshi getting hurt because Shadow withheld information is consistent with this theme. Sonic simply agreeing to Shadow's terms because he understands they need to work together and did genuinely think they could get the emeralds first. And 2, it comes at a point in the story where it's most dramatic. After a character we care about has been hurt. It makes it easier to empathize with Sonic and Shadow when we've been personally affected by Mecha Sonic. And most importantly, it makes us feel what Mario and Luigi feel in this moment, and creates personal investment in the mission. Then, after that dramatic scene, Professor Egad shows up with a MacGuffin detector and another Chaos Emerald. Only for it to get stolen immediately.
God damn it!
Shadow chases after the thieves in rage, and the rest follow shortly after. Sequence 2. The MacGuffins. Mario and the gang track down the thieves and prepare a sneak attack, only for an impatient Shadow to force them out of hiding.
Nice job, Dickface!
Then we get introduced to our thieves, the Spirit Squad, who are actually the Koopa Bros who played the wrong theme song. This joke is important because it portrays the Koopa Bros as incompetent and weak, which is important for a scene at the end. Shadow charges in alone and his decision immediately sucks. This is where we get to properly see Shadow's self-destructive behavior, and it works with the theme I explained earlier. Sonic once again convinces him to work together and the battle begins. I love the sense of scale in this fight. All these zoom outs of people getting blasted through hills. This is also where we get to see the series play around more with 3D camera movements, creating these dynamic shots. There's one more cool trick this fight does, but I'm gonna save it for a fight that does it better. We're also doing some important character work. We see how Sonic and Shadow hold themselves in a fight, but we also see Luigi's struggles to do so. Luigi is often put into situations where others need to save him, and this extends beyond fighting. It helps to justify his fear to the audience. The gang pin down the Koopa Bros and offer them one last chance to surrender. That's when the Koopa Bros decide to pull out their secret weapon, and something interesting happens. They just straight up one-shot them. It works in tandem with the fight from before. We saw what Mecha Sonic was capable of without an emerald, and now we see what an emerald does to people weaker than the heroes. We're establishing all this information because it builds anticipation for when these two forces collide. After the Koopa Bros experience the power of the emeralds, they decide to turn on Bowser and collect the emeralds for themselves. This is an important theme. Where Mario and the gang are unified through trust, the antagonists are divided by self-interest. This is an important lesson that Shadow needs to learn. They steal the emerald radar and set out. Sequence 1. Rising anxiety. Sonic's having a nightmare about confronting Mecha Sonic and failing to stop him from collecting the emeralds. The nightmare is important because it keeps that lingering sense of failure in the air. Even when Sonic wakes to Shadow's bickering, the scene allows the time we need for these emotions to linger. But we don't linger for too long. EGAT shows up with a MacGuffin detector. For the MacGuffin detector. It's a dumb joke, but it gets us back to a more comfortable atmosphere where we can take in exposition again. Also, it's going to belong to different characters later, which is important. The radar points them in the direction of Yoshi's island, which Yoshi doesn't seem thrilled about. His reaction sets up a later scene, but it also creates some anxiety for the coming events. In fact, that's what this whole sequence has been doing. The group leaves, Luigi is handed a 1-up for good luck, and we head out to our new objective. Sequence 2. Setting the stage. We arrive on Yoshi's island where the group find themselves surrounded by angry natives. They attempt diplomacy, only for Shadow to act rashly again. The choreography in this fight is great for Mario, as his attacks flow so nicely into one another. I love all the creative ways he uses the spear, like this 3D Matrix shot. But the fight is cut short as Mario is caught from behind and the others are powerless to save him. But just in the nick of time, Yoshi comes to Mario's aid, the payoff to the scene from before. The Chief shows up, and after recognizing Mario as the baby he saved years ago, he ends the conflict, which is something that would have happened with no conflict if not for Shadow. It also creates this personal connection to the conflict because now Mario is offered an opportunity to repay a debt. The Chief tells us of his people's plight with the emeralds and invaders who enslaved them. Understanding the Yoshi's plight, they agree to help them. Sequence 3. Battle for the MacGuffin. The gang free the Yoshis from enslavement and spot a Chaos Emerald, which is then stolen by the Koopa Bros, which is then stolen by the Axum Rangers X, the invaders on the island. Now, it's a free-for-all for the MacGuffin. This fight kicks complete ass. It has that trick I wanted to talk about before, where only 4 characters are really on screen at a time. It makes the action easier to follow, but it also has different parts of the battle cross over into one another, creating new matchups. It really creates this feeling of the huge, chaotic battle. The episode ends in the middle of the fight as Mecha Sonic is attracted to the island.
I'm about to whip somebody's ass.
Let's go. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Sequence 1. The battle rages on. The Wario Bros arrive on the island, but then react to the battle unfolding beyond them. Not only has Yoshi's Island increased the scope of the story, but having characters react to the conflict reinforces just how huge and chaotic this battle is. We cut to the fight, and there are a couple shots I want to focus on. 1, this overlay of Luigi dodging the Koopa Bros as Mario fights on top. It adds an extra layer of depth and intrigue to the shot. And 2, the scene where Luigi gets a power-up. Luigi is a coward and not as competent at fighting as the others, so the series opts to give him power-ups that put him in support roles where he can be used as a tool for others. It shows us how Luigi's personality develops in conflict. Mario wastes the Red Power Ranger, forcing him to resort to their secret weapon. Sequence 2. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. The fight then comes to a halt as the breaker beam sets off a massive explosion. As the characters react to the explosion, the nature of the conflict begins to change. We're establishing new stakes and objectives for the fight in the form of evacuating the Yoshis. As both enemy teams charge their special attacks, things couldn't get worse. And then they get worse.
What's up, bitches? Oh, I'm sorry, were those your ultimate attacks? Those were fucking adorable.
This is called Out of the Frying Pan, Into the Fire. One danger was averted only because something more dangerous showed up. Now that he's got 4 emeralds, shit is about to go down. He turns Super Saiyan and then proceeds to permanently cancel the Power Rangers. This is where we properly get to see the level of danger he poses. We just had a 2-episode free-for-all ended in an instant. Mecha Sonic has displayed himself to be nothing short of an unstoppable force of nature. Luigi shudders at the sight of Mecha Sonic and the rest head out to fight him. However, the tone of the fight changes in an interesting way. Shadow begins to kick his allies into Mecha Sonic as they get in his way, and their teamwork begins to fall apart. This shot perfectly embodies their relationship, Shadow fighting Mecha Sonic in the background as his allies struggle to stay together. Mecha Sonic handily defeats them, and just when things couldn't get worse, they get worse. He's gonna blow up Yoshi's island. Victory is no longer an option. The objective of the fight changes. The characters need to get everyone off the island as soon as possible. Sequence 3. All is lost, or is it? Just as everything seems bleak, a sparkle of hope appears. That one-up from earlier, a symbol of Peach's goodwill, restores Mario's strength. Mario and Luigi are always helping each other out. It shows brotherly love, but it also shows that as much as Luigi needs Mario, Mario needs Luigi. He even needs Luigi to help collect the superstars. Mario never wins on his own. He always has Luigi backing him up, and this is an important lesson that Luigi needs to learn. Mario and Sonic manage to pry the emeralds away from Mecha Sonic, as Mecha Sonic then sends his destruction down after them. And just before the island is obliterated, Shadow uses Chaos Control to get everyone off safely, but with a hefty price. Sequence 4. Aftermath. The destruction of the island not only raises the stakes moving forward, but shows that Mecha Sonic's encounters come with consequences. And then, as we do, we relieve the tension with a joke. It feels like such a big relief after they were almost destroyed, but the scene doesn't just ignore what happened. The Yoshis look on at the devastation of their home, and there's a mix of all these conflicting emotions. They're happy they got away with their lives, but there's also this feeling of loss and tragedy. As the episode ends, Mario realizes he's lost the radar, and we cut away.
Mario?
Sequence 1. A looming threat. We open to a dark, stormy sky around Bowser's castle, setting an ominous tone for the episode. We're introduced to Cammy, who briefs Bowser on the events. This is the first time we've cut away to characters besides our protagonists. The Yoshi's Island Brawl isn't treated as some isolated incident. It's given more weight and feels like a massive event whose consequences ripple throughout the story. Bowser, as the scheming person he is, decides to use this opportunity to kidnap Peach while Mario is away. He sends his children to the castle and goes to check on a secret weapon. None of this comes out of nowhere. All these characteristics and motives were established right at the beginning and come back into the story naturally at a point where it complicates the conflict. We see a shadowy figure working with Bowser, adding a new mystery to the show. Well, it's not a mystery, but it's mysteriously intriguing. He reveals the Doomship, and Bowser orders for it to be set out immediately. The shadowy figure argues that the ship's defense systems aren't completed yet, but ultimately gives in to Bowser's orders. We're establishing some important information in this scene. Introducing you-know-who as a silhouette creates an inherent feeling of distrust in him, but it also helps to visually separate him from Bowser. Bowser is in full view because we already understand his motivations clearly. However, this silhouetted figure's motives are unclear to us. His silhouette symbolizes how both the audience and Bowser do not properly comprehend his intentions. The scene ends on the reveal of a new robot, and we cut to black as danger lingers in the air. Sequence 2. Letting the story breathe. We arrive at the entrance of the Great Pipe Maze, where another emerald is detected. After that huge fiasco on Yoshi's Island, the story has offered some needed breathing room and much lower stakes conflict. We're introduced to stuff well the suitcase and head down the pipes, much to Luigi's dismay, which is an important beat for this episode. We see the Wario Bros trailing behind them and cut inside the maze. Shadow decides to split off from the group, and Sonic asks Luigi and Yoshi to follow him. We're starting to build some tension in the group's dynamic, and this sets up a later conflict. We enter a montage of the characters getting into hijinks, but end with seemingly no progress.
Thanks a lot, Wall!
But then, out of nowhere, Mecha Sonic appears, and I have some conflicting feelings about that. Sequence 3. Trapped. To start off with the good, this fight is amazing. I love the emphasis put on Sonic and Mecha Sonic's overwhelming speed, like the shot where they're moving so fast Mario seems frozen in time, or this shot of Mecha Sonic blasting Sonic away in slow motion, only to catch up instantly. Then, when we enter the Minus World, the animation style changes to 8-bit and the music style changes to match. It's creative, and I can't help but love the ambition put into it. We're introduced to two new characters, Goombella and Professor Colorado, who are in possession of a Chaos Emerald. They reveal that Mario and Sonic are now eternally trapped in this world. Luigi and the gang are relayed the same information on the other side. While Shadow and Yoshi charge in fearlessly, Luigi is reluctant to go out of fear. This sets up an important moment that happens later. Mario and Sonic find themselves unable to escape. Even as Mecha Sonic and Shadow attempt Chaos Control, they are unable to teleport away. With 4 members of the gang trapped in the Minus World, we cut back to Luigi, who stares at a picture of him and Mario. Luigi's reason for hesitance is something we can understand, but we also understand how much Mario means happens to him. It's cathartic to watch Luigi courageously charge in and shows how deep his care for Mario goes.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
Then, the scene gets paid off in an interesting way. Luigi's clumsiness causes him to crash into the professor's watch, which undoes the curse on the Minus World. This is the narrative rewarding Luigi for being selfless, and it's done in a way that fits the tone of his character. None of this is forced or contrived. All of the seeds for this payoff have been planted throughout the series. It's just a matter of good setup, good payoff. Sequence 4. A new objective. The gang managed to escape in the nick of time, and now we get into what I don't like. Mecha Sonic has been established as this unstoppable force of nature whose encounters come with massive consequences. But having the characters get away from him with a complete victory takes away from his presence. I think a new minor antagonist who gets introduced and defeated in this episode would have worked better. The characters return home safe, but realize that Bowser has captured Peach. We end the episode with a new objective.
Time for the big finish!
Sequence 1. The core conflict. We open the episode on a flashback of Bowser's arrival as this massive Doomship dominates the frame, casting a large shadow over the kingdom. I love the way this is shot. Storm clouds fill the sky and this massive Doomship dominates every frame, all while the world is silenced by this ominous music. Mario reads out Bowser's demands to surrender the Chaos Emeralds in exchange for Peach's life. Sonic agrees to help the Mario Bros, but this is where Shadow explodes. I love everything about this. All this conflict evolved naturally from what we understand about the characters. We understand Bowser's motives and underhanded tactics. We understand Mario and Luigi's concern for Peach, and we understand the debt Sonic feels towards these two for their help. But we also understand Shadow's rage towards Mecha Sonic for what he did, his lone wolf attitude and drive to collect the Chaos Emeralds above all else. All this drama comes from clearly defined character motivations and conflicting personalities. This is what the story is about. It's not about collecting the MacGuffin stones. It's about friendship, god damn it! It's about learning to work together. Character flaws are there because they show us what needs to be overcome for the mission to be successful. Shadow storms off on his own and Sonic laments the loss of his friend, followed by this scene I love of Mario comforting Sonic. But we don't linger for long. We have a new objective. Sequence 2. Preparations. The characters arrive at EGAD's lab, and with his power-ups in plane, they head out to rescue Peach. On the plane ride, Sonic reminisces about his flights with Tails, and it helps to create a personal connection to him for this mission. Sonic failed to save his friends before, and now he has a chance to redeem himself by saving somebody else's friends. Also, this joke is great and I love it. This is why you're not in Smash! Sequence 3. The mission. We cut to the Doomship where Bowser prepares for his confrontation with Mario. Just before we cut away, our shadowy figure leaves to tie up loose ends, creating anticipation for whatever scheme he has planned. Warning! The following action sequence is about to totally kick ass. Please see a doctor if you can't handle high doses of hype. We get introduced to a new antagonist, Captain Basilisk, as he fires the cannon at the group. We get some characterization as he turns his subordinates into stone and fires another shot at the group. I love how both sides have to problem solve around the conflict. Bowser is shooting from the front, so we'll fly out of range. The plane is out of range, so we'll send troops to fire bullets. Troops are firing bullets, so we'll just drop on the ship and kick their ass. This fight also lays some important mini goals that need to be accomplished in the action. Take out the cannons and the Hammer Bros. These many obstacles create a forward sense of progression in the conflict. Otherwise, we would just be fighting endless mobs of enemies uncertain of our progress. Also, this fight has the greatest choreography in the series. It starts with Sonic riding a bullet bill down, then becomes this sequence of team attacks as Mario and Sonic take turns showing off. Then later, when we enter the Doomship, there's this unending shot of the characters using Luigi as a weapon in creative ways, which works with that idea I brought up earlier. Also, we get this.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
The group effortlessly make their way through hordes of enemies until Basilisk intervenes, turning everyone but Mario to stone. The battle had been going so well up until this point, creating a false sense of confidence in the audience. But Basilisk turning the others to stone suddenly shifts the tone in the scene. It commands your attention to the threat he poses. He brings up his hatred for Mario, who had slain a companion of his in the past. In my opinion, Basilisk is supposed to act as a parallel to Shadow. They're both skilled warriors who turn on their allies and are driven by vengeance. But we never get to see how the conflict with of Basilisk ends, I have a feeling it was meant to show the self-destructive end of those driven by vengeance. The fight is incredible. It keeps up that amazing choreography, and you can really see the improvements in the animation. It has these carefully done limb movements where you can see the two countering each other's attacks. Earlier on, the fight animation was much more straightforward, with characters blasting each other across the screen. This fight feels much more delicate in the little confrontations and gives each hit a feeling of careful intention. As Mario takes the lead, Basilisk uses Luigi against him and pins him down, leaving us uncertain of how he'll escape as the episode concludes, and that's basically where the series ends. There is a 3-minute clip of episode 9 that shows Luigi breaking free and saving Mario, as well as a scene of Shadow contemplating his decision before Mecha Sonic interrupts him, but that's as far as those scenes go. This is the end. Super Mario Bros. Z might be remembered for its influential fight animation, but the series did so many other wonderful things that it deserves credit for. The way the series understood how to control the tone, how it took breaks to let emotions linger, how it planted seeds for growth and conflict, how it controlled information to create intrigue, and how it gave us characters we could empathize with. It was a compelling story about learning to put aside your differences and work together. While I'm sure everyone has their own reasons for why they've held onto the series, I think it's unfair to say that its only legacy is its fight animation. I bring this up because when I started writing this script, that was the only thing I was planning to talk about. Super Mario Bros. Z was the reason I became an artist, as I explained before. And I was worried that rewatching anything past the fight animation would negatively affect my feelings of it. I was just a kid when I found this series. I felt certain that some dumb fanfiction wasn't going to be as good as I remembered. So when I did rewatch the whole series, I realized that time hadn't diluted my experience of it, but deepened it. Unlike when I was a kid and I could only point fingers at the fight animation in hopes people would understand my passion, now I was an adult and a more developed artist. I could articulate what about art was meaningful to me, and being able to do so with this series made me feel validated. I felt proud of how much I had grown and glad I had come across this series. While I may never be able to properly express how much this series means to me, I hope that this tribute will express at least a fraction of that gratitude. And I hope it helps those of you who had trouble explaining why you enjoyed this show, like I used to, because Super Mario Bros. Z is great. Thank you so much for watching. I was very nervous about posting this video, so I hope it turned out okay, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you enjoy what I do, feel free to leave me a comment telling me what you liked about it, or if I brought up anything interesting. That would be really helpful because I worked very hard on this. And also, it would be really nice if you would share my work on social media with hashtags like Super Mario Bros. Z. Your support is greatly appreciated, and have a good one, everybody.